All right, so we're live, and right now I'm going to be in this little chat for about an hour. A friend of mine is doing some stuff today, Machini 90 acquaintance. It's pretty close friend of mine here on this, and he does a drawing live stream, and so I will be basically just shut down my connection to my website with the feed, and then more than likely drift over to his. The difference between his and my stream is that his is primarily focused on art. Mine, art is a part of it. However, we talk about everything. And this week we had interesting stuff happen. We had, in national politics, we had a debate, which was funny. It was probably the most criminal thing I've ever seen for politics in my life, because, again, they've been doing this criminal thing. Jill Stein, she's an evil woman. She is a person who's allowing an entire group, an organization of people to use her husband to do something in his last huzzah for politics before they make him retire to the sunroom with a blanket over his lap so he can drool all day long. That's what he's going to do. He's not going to do a single thing else. He's Joe Biden, not Joe Stein, Jill Biden. Joe Biden is the worst candidate I've ever seen for president, and I'm including Lurch, John fucking Kerry from 2004. Hello, chat. How you doing? Drinking my coffee as I usually am. Coffee is good. One of you guys went in here? Come on in. Click that link, and then don't forget to mute your stuff once you do. But I'm just saying that I feel sorry for Joe Biden. I really do, because the guy, he's a puppet right now. He's the biggest puppet I've ever seen utilized. And Kamala Harris is not much different. Oh, cool. Thank you very much, LDG. Joe Biden is a puppet right now, and he's the one being used because Kamala could not get electable. Dang it. I have to run out and fix the laptop, but he will rewatch when he returns. Thank you, LDG Pixels. You, sir, have a great and safe day. Please drive safely. One of our new subscribers here at the Apartment of Solitude. And it's just a shame what Jill Biden is involved with. She's letting people rent her husband so she can have that cheddar, that retirement. She's going to have her husband retire, sleeping in the sunroom with a blanket over his lap, which most men at age, what is he, 80? Most of us really aren't against that. We want to have that dignified, that respect. But the way they're treating the poor man now in the run up to November 4th, 3rd, whatever, this is terrible. And LDG, how's the audio on your end? I was listening for any buzzing or such. If I need to, I'll place my microphone at a better location. Anyway, wait for his response, if there is one. But I'm truly sorry for Joe. I'm doing what I can to... There we go. See if we can get better resolution on that. There we go. But they had Joe Biden out there, wired for sound, listening in to people, coaching him along the way. And occasionally he'd get lost, and Trump would say something because that's Trump. Trump always says something, and it would kind of remind Joe or reset Joe back to a soft reset. I'm on stage. Oh, I'm in the middle of a debate. I hope I'm doing well. And I would feel sorry for Joe. As a man, I recognize when people are being taken advantage of. Most people have a bullshit detector. And watching this year's politics, sadly for the Democrat Party, they've been doing a much bigger job with not worried about using the proper filter to where it looks like an honest attempt. Like, we knew that Gore probably wasn't the right guy for 2000. And I'm really happy that Gore didn't win in 2000. I just wish it wasn't a George Bush, but Gore had this guy, this wonderful man that I think anybody outside of politics would probably admire him because he wasn't terrible. Senator Lieberman was a very nice guy. He put up a few bills. He actually achieved some things. And in the long run, history will probably look at him very fondly. They'll probably look at Joe Lieberman like he was a guy that was just in the wrong time, the wrong place. And that's how I feel about Joe Lieberman. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm a Republican only on my voting record. I'm more of a conservative, but the Conservative Party is this tiny group of people that don't get much exposure. The Constitution Party doesn't get much. Libertarian Party occasionally gets 1%, 2%, but it's just a real shame. You know, America, we're divided into two politics, two parties. There, you might be a hard left person. You might be for Antifa, and if so, we have to talk and see exactly if you belong here. But the thing is that we only have two parties. We have Democrat and Republican. I can walk down the soda aisle of the grocer, and there's about 17 different colas that are worth somebody's taste bud. They're there. They're quality. They make a good product. If you like cola, we don't have to use cola. Cola is bad for you. It causes probably more problems than good. But we could use beer because beer is a more pure product. But America is shackled into this emotional blackmail of either or, Republican or Democrat. And this year, the Democrat Party is using every tactic they can, and they keep relying on the racist angle, accuse people of being racists if they like Donald Trump. That doesn't really work well, especially with men that have no qualms about dating outside their race. Or, you know, I'm not saying I've ever fucked a green-skinned alien. God, I would love an Orion slave girl. I think every man would. I think every guy out there that ever watched Star Trek 2009, or even better, the original series, we all get it. They were hot. You could be a black man from Tennessee. You could be a white guy from Minnesota. But an Orion slave girl hits you up, man. Hey, this shore leave just got a lot better. Probably a lot less expensive too, because they were a little bit higher quality individual. The ones that they showed in the media, at least, probably in the actual Star Trek universe. And I'm not going to say I'm Gene Roddenberry, but I'm going to say in the actual Star Trek universe, there was probably a few stereotypes about the Orion slave girls not related to sex. That might be true, but I didn't know about them. I'm just speaking from a sailor's perspective, because you are watching a channel of a veteran who went overseas and did his best to make an orphanage. Oops. Everybody does their thing. No kink shame. when you're in your 20s, you don't really have a clue how things are going to go. I'm in my 40s. I'm still wondering, okay, is it all right for us to start acting under oath of enlistment? Do we start going out and rounding up these people and corralling them and waiting for them to be deported because they're not acting in the nation's interests? They're doing bad things. Bruce, don't do that. Don't go any further. Don't talk about that. What do you mean? Are we rioting or are we protesting? On a related note, I watched the Star Trek Pandemic special, and I think if you haven't watched the not Star Trek, the South Park Pandemic special, oh, that would be great. The Star Trek Discovery Pandemic special. They reset the entire timeline. They're not going into the future 10,000 years. They're going to warp back and they're going to have Mikey Spock save us from the coronavirus. I mean, solid old school Trek fans have already thought that they took the Fonz on a motorcycle above the Shark Tank with Star Trek Discovery. They already thought that because Star Trek Discovery is a superhero origin tale, the first 2 seasons of it. It's just a garbage scenario. At best, it's a garbage scenario. Well, we found this old artifact. You're going to fly outside the ship even though you're commandeering it from the inside. Bring back Automan and Manimal while you're at it, because you better warm up those remakes, because I don't see Star Trek Discovery lasting too long. They put Discovery on broadcast television, and repeats of game shows were scoring it a little bit better in that time slot. I mean, I love Steve Harvey. I don't know if he was a host of those said game shows. All I know is I saw the listings, and Star Trek got maybe 0.1% of everything. And so it's just a sad time to be an individual with taste, because you are forced to go back and watch previous movies or previous TV shows if you're going to have a good time. It focuses on my hand really well. Not on the elf. Okay. Hey, Brooke. Just doing a small paint stream before I head into McKinney's realm about 2:30.
Okay. You gonna go see Grady?
No, I'm going to stay here. I'm going on to a friend's stream probably about 2:30.
Yeah, I'm gonna just hang out too. I gotta work at 1100 or 2300.
Tonight?
Yeah, 2300 0700.
Nice.
And then tomorrow 1900 to 0700 Tuesday.
Well,
so
get some rest.
Yeah, totally.
I'll try to keep it quiet.
Oh no, you're good. I was gonna say about the curtains, how I said they block sound. They really don't. So I don't know if you want them after all, because the neighbor was playing Led Zeppelin. And I was already awake, but I could hear it through. Well, I opened up my curtains. I was like, I wonder if they really block sound. Close the curtains, velcroed them up. Didn't make a difference. So they probably wouldn't do anything.
I'll get you the money tomorrow.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Okay. If you want to still do it.
Okay.
Just for the light aspect? So
Yeah,
the light.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can do it probably sometime this week.
Okay.
All right, cool. I'm a little stressed out today, but all right.
There's a prayer that the Alcoholics Anonymous people talk about, where they ask God for the wisdom or the hope. They can't change things. They can't change other people. And that's the one thing I took from my friends admitting they were alcoholics, and therefore absolving me from having to admit I'm an alcoholic, because I don't want to be in that group. Like, I already know I like beer. I spent thousands of dollars in Spain as a 20-year-old man, instead of going out and doing responsible things like saving money and just kind of drifting around the base, living on the cheap. No, I'm in Spain. I might as well enjoy myself. I'm going to go enjoy myself. And that's what I did. Traded a lot of magic cards from the alpha and beta set. These are English. Yeah, they're written in English. They're sold in America. I'll offer you $500 for this. Excellent. Sell off a Trapper Keeper. I want to say this guy was painted with. He might have been painted with Reaper paints, but I want to say this is actually more Army Painter because I've been having a lot of problems with the Army Painter brand of paints. The paint brushes are great, but Reaper out of Denton, Texas, has made me quite a happy man. Yesterday we had a game, and I have a temper. I didn't lose my temper during the game. I lost it when I found out a friend of mine forgot about the fact we had a game, even though I tell people every 3 weeks we get together for this. We've been doing this for years. He's like, hey, I'm out with family. I'm like, oh, fuck. Well, dude, just hang out with your family. Nobody else showed up either. Me and Chris are ready to go. Other players have got new things going on in their life. It's the fight. Whenever you get in a hobby game, it's the fight. You know, you're going to have people that are like, I want to play, but I have this new job, or I have this job that doesn't allow me time with those hours. You're like, okay. Ooh, hello, M. Dastardly. If you want to jump on, my friend, I've got the link up in the chat there. And that sticker is actually the Coffee Saves. It's a brand of Black Rifle coffee. It's a medium blend, kind of like almost has an orange peel smell coming out of the bag when you get the beans ready for the grinder. I'll say Black Rifle coffee has probably been the biggest contribution to my cognitive abilities. During my time in the oil field, I wasn't getting a whole lot of sleep. Mind you, if you're not getting a lot of sleep with your life, change. You want to lose weight? You better be getting enough sleep. If you're not sleeping right, you are not going to lose weight. Your body's going to panic, go into a bit of a tailspin as far as everything is concerned. Your metabolism just rockets around. I do part-time work with the Black Rifle Coffee Company in Canada. It's not as big up here as it is in the States. Well, it's only really big here because San Antonio is where Black Rifle Coffee picked after asking their podcast, which was at the time the Drinking Bros. They asked their podcast where they wanted to see Black Rifle Coffee call home because they weren't really getting bad press. They had a really nice new store up in Salt Lake City, but most of America doesn't go to Salt Lake City for fun. In fact, the show Insomnia showed us just how early that city turned in. Insomniac. So, and Dastardly, if you want to come on in and chat for a bit, I'll be talking till about 1400 Central Standard Time, if you so choose. But Black Rifle Coffee asked its podcast, where do you want us to go? Well, San Antonio is a military city. We got 5 bases here. 6 if you include the large secret base off of Probant. Big old NSA compound. A lot of people make their living here, involved with the military. By that token, the government. And so CEOs came to town. They stayed downtown at the MF for a bit. They journeyed around. A lot of them liked New Braunfels. It's a little town just up I-35. The problem with New Braunfels is the fact it's along I-35. And for those of you that live here in San Antonio, you can groan because you know what I'm talking about when I say I-35. And I'm talking about traffic. Can you say bumper to bumper? I knew you could. Give me a second here to get my mic set up. All right. Just make sure that you mute your YouTube or your channel off of non-StreamYard because it'll pop up and you'll have an echo. Might be delayed. Brooke, there's a plastic baggie, bottom row of the kitchen, bottom row of the fridge. Has some nice red meat in it for you.
Awesome, thank you.
Big fans of the Chuck Eye steak here. Welcome, M. Dastardly. Can you hear me?
Hey, old Bruce, how are you?
Pretty good, man. Life been treating you well?
Oh, yeah, surviving up here. Yourself?
I didn't realize you were a Canuck, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has its high points and its low points, like all things.
Oh man, right now we're in the middle of a shit show down here.
Yeah, no, I know. I got some friends down in Washington, and they give me all the updates. I mean, besides 24/7 news broadcasts.
Oh my god, this is a funny little timeline we're on. Did you have any thoughts about the debate that happened earlier this week in American politics, or no?
What's the best way to describe it? You know, when you see a terrible accident and you're like, this is I shouldn't be watching this, but you can't turn away. You know, the old it's like watching a train wreck. Like, you know, you shouldn't see it.
We're gonna watch this, and Joe was starting to glitch out 7 minutes into it.
Yeah,
and
it was pretty harsh.
Yeah, and you could see if he was left alone in a room, he would glitch out. He'd probably start drooling on himself or wandering around, try to find a woman to sniff. But then Don would say something, or worse, Chris would say something, and it'd bring him back. Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's the thing now. People are saying, well, what was it on some of the streams yesterday? They're saying, oh, you know, like maybe he had the specialized contact lenses and he had mics and everything. It's like, no, if you look at him, he was looking down and picking up notes from his phone most of the time. I mean, he was just looking down. It's like, oh, here's my talking point. Here's my talking point. Here's my talking point.
And that's the entire episode of that for us.
Yeah.
That was so sad that the guy, his wife is such an evil bitch because she's letting them use him like a puppet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, this is like those dance moms or toddlers and tiaras things, except this is the senior version. You know, this is the same thing. It's like, come on, honey, you can do it. I believe in you. And he's sitting up there like zoning out, and you're just like, pull him back in. I mean, it's, you know, it's one thing you make fun of it, but at the same time, it's pretty sad to see.
If they would just be honest and say Donald Trump is running against this giant conglomerate of tech companies and big corporations, what do you want, America? If they would be honest like that, I could at least respect him a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well, the thing is that they're never going to do that because pride is their downfall. I mean, it has to be. I mean, they'll never admit. Anytime you can encounter somebody who will never admit they were wrong, and I learned this when I was in the military real quick. Anyone who can't admit that they are wrong, you have to keep an eye out for them. You know what I mean? Because they just can't do it. They're either too proud or, there's something wrong upstairs. They'll never admit that they did something wrong or that they made a mistake.
And it makes for a very challenging work environment just in itself when you have that. But worse yet is that this is being broadcast to us on a national level and an international level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is it we've got going up here in Canada now? They're trying to implement an order in council, which is their fancy way of saying they're bypassing the democratic process to reclassify firearms in Canada. So now firearms that were not restricted, because we have different classifications. There's restricted and non-restricted and prohibited, and they're reclassifying a lot of the non-restricted into restricted. So basically, in one day, they made, several 100,000 Canadians criminals just by signing this thing, because now their licenses don't correspond to the firearms that they own, and it's a real nightmare. But they'll never admit they did anything wrong. That's just how they roll.
Ord's board has entered the chat. Ords, how you doing, sir? Yeah, I'm a little frustrated by watching how everything seems to be going in this direction, where the countries around us and even our own wants to trust people less and less with their own accountability. And many of us are trained very well in how to use arms and weapons of deadly force.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the other thing is okay, so just a little bit about myself. I was in the infantry for 6 years. I deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. And when I came back, it was just okay, well, I had already had my firearms license. No real change, right? Mm-hmm. So then they passed this new order in council. I hate calling it that. It's completely undemocratic, 100%. They've literally just said, we're going to do this because firearms are unsafe. And, with the beer bug running rampant, the parliament is essentially closed. So there was no one there to debate it, no one there to fight it. And they just tried to push it through as quickly as they could. And yeah, it does absolutely nothing to address the issues of, firearm related violence or illegal firearms, any of that stuff. It basically just turns law abiding citizens into criminals by, literally the stroke of a pen. Which, needless to say, a vast majority of the population up here is not happy with it. Yours truly included.
Yeah, I'm probably about 10 years older than you, or most of my comrades and I. We were on our way out. We were done with our 8 years that we've signed up for, and then shortly after that, then 9/11 happened for us. And so we had opportunities to go back, but my specialty wasn't really necessary because I know about mines. I know about,
really?
I was on a mine countermeasure ship and I took to that fairly well. Wasn't the best at it, but when it came to ordnance, it's I would totally just embrace it, and I wrapped my head around it, and I understood safety because one of our guys on the ship before that, they had an incident where he blew off part of his arm in an ordnance accident. And that was 1 week on the ship. And this happens. I'm oh God.
Yeah.
So you learn real fast, hey, it's time to grow up now. Or it's just he'd be more for getting on board, but he's got to do lawn care.
Right, I hear you. Well, it's just still responsibilities, man. I'm just trying to take it easy myself on a nice relaxing Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Well, when I was deployed, I think I was 24. I was 24. One of my fire team partners, he was 42. He actually re-enlisted in order to deploy, because Canada's involvement in Afghanistan, I think it was about 10 years from beginning to end. So he re-enlisted, and so I was the second oldest guy in my section. So he was 42, even though we were the same rank. Right. So he was 42, I was 24, and all the other guys were like 18, 19. They were basically just kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gives you a real taste of reality. And, I mean, at 24, I was just a kid myself, essentially. Right. And now you find yourself having to kind of, I don't want to say babysit, because they were professionals themselves, but they were, I mean, right out of high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're having to kind of take that extra step and be like, okay, guys, watch this area. You watch this area. This, like you kind of have to step up a little bit, just because you're that extra, a little bit more mature, I guess is the word.
Yeah. The salt that's on your body has helped contribute to the fact that you understand a few more of the processes that are going on. You don't just have to rely on your immediate supervisors. Now you're relying on extra info coming in, and you can disseminate what's exactly going on around you, and you can filter out some of those things that might just be extraneous, and the fact that you might also pick up on something that a new guy definitely will not, because he doesn't have that time and rank that you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought about going, for another round, and I'm like, I'm 26. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And already, my knees were hurting, and it took me a couple of years of rehabilitation and doing some serious stretching, learning how to get away from iron weights for a bit to get my knees to where I don't need a cane, I don't need a crutch, I'm good.
Yeah, I continue to do physio for my shoulder in particular, shoulder, knees, lower back, the standard infantry issues.
Yeah. Everybody I know that joined the Army has some sort of appointment they have to go to about every 3 weeks to 6 weeks. And they get to go and they get to have their bodies rehabilitated just a little bit, or maybe it's just keeping a doctor employed and nothing's really happening that's beneficial to their body, but they're just keeping somebody in an office to where they're being utilized. But these guys, for the past few years, they're pretty regular. They go into the office, they get worked on. They've got bolts through joints. They got tossed around by a couple of IEDs. They're riding in a Humvee and ended up on its side, and 70% hearing loss in your left ear. Things like that.
Yeah, I consider myself a bit lucky in that regard, because I didn't suffer any hearing loss. But I mean, just like when I got back, I was an inch shorter. And I'm not even, I know it sounds like a joke, but I was actually 1 inch shorter. My spine and my joints had basically compressed. So that led to a bunch of nerve issues in my shoulders and my back. But, slowly over time, I was doing stretching. And I know it's funny because a lot of guys, when you say, like, oh, I do stretching and I'll do some yoga and all this other stuff, and they'll, tend to laugh at you. But it's like, it's really important to get your body moving again.
How many friends do you have that when they got out, they thought they had life on easy street? I've got 100% disability, and they go to basically a gazebo, and they're trying to read, their day away. And like about 3 weeks later, they're like, I'm in worse shape now than what I've been in my life.
Yeah.
They take that self-assessment test. They're like, what do I do?
Yeah. And I've only heard nightmare stories about, hold on a sec, what it's like dealing with Veterans Affairs down in the States. But Veterans Affairs Canada, I can't imagine it's much better, because these guys, they move slower than the speed of dark. It's almost unbelievable.
We actually, I'll say that, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Trump. I love Trump. He's done good for a lot of parts of our nation in that aspect. And one thing he did really well was he got the VA up and running. He got the VA to where they've got motivation to be an meritocracy and not just some other arm of the U.S. government.
Yeah, which is really good. I mean, politics aside, I have my own take on all politicians, but the our current prime minister up here, the less than prime minister, he had a meeting with some injured veterans, and one of the guys that was actually, he lost his leg on our tour, and he's standing there and he's talking to the prime minister. He basically said, like, I didn't expect that I would have to go through, have to fight as hard as I am in order to get some benefits here from the injuries when I deployed. And prime minister looks at him and says, well, unfortunately, veterans are asking for more than we can give. And then, less than a freaking couple of months later, he goes on a multi-million-dollar vacation to I don't even freaking know where it was, but it's like, yeah, man. So I don't understand the mindset of somebody that can be like, oh yeah, your veterans are asking for more than we can give. And then he goes on a multi-million-dollar vacation. I can't even picture spending that much money on a vacation. I've been on one vacation my whole life. I went to London, England, and with airfare, that was $2,800 to spend a week there. So I don't even think I could spend $1 million on a vacation. I mean, unless I went out to lunch. But it goes to show you that some of these, some politicians or some people in general are just not wired properly.
And that's the big problem with a lot of them. They don't have a connection to reality. They get an office, they get a stipend, they get a housing allowance for 2 places to live, the one that they started from, the one they need, and their place of business. And then they start throwing their family, dragging their family around for PR and such, and they become a totally different monster. They'll have lunches with heads of companies and corporations, and they have to do other acting gigs basically. And these poor people, they don't realize what hell they're in for. And some of them really love it because they've got no soul. They love being a puppet, and others are like, I'm doing one term, I'm done.
Yeah.
The majority of them don't. They want to go back into the race. Oh, I can just get some more things done if you elect me for another term. And it's like, what'd you do the first time for me? Not a damn thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always tell my friends. It's like, as soon as you see, like, when a politician is on their way out, like whether they want to be or not, I always say this is exactly when all of the agencies that are involved in financial investigation and whatnot, this is when they need to put the magnifying glass down on these individuals, because that's when you start seeing where money is going, because they're in a panic and they know, hey, I'm not on easy street and in the next, X amount of months or years. And that's, that's how they can, that's how you can find them.
Hey, Apollo Patriot. He just popped in and said, "Hail the sun god," and he's chilling like a Greek god. He's got the best names.
Oh yeah,
I'm very impressed with the guy's ability. He pulls parts from everywhere. I didn't realize that Dave Filoni, when he had his shirt off, looked like my twin brother. I mean, we could be Chewbacca. The two of us combined, we could make 4 Wookiees.
Jeez. Well, at least you'll never freeze to death.
Oh, no. I never had that problem. I was on a beach in South Padre Island, just about 3 hours from here. And this woman was sunbathing, and I didn't know if she spoke English or not, because it's South Texas. And I said, "Hola." And she says in perfect English, "You can take your sweater off."
Oh, like, wow.
Okay. I'm going to go get a cold beer for that burn.
You got it. You bring the wax, I'll bring the wine.
Oh
man, that just reminds me of that scene in what is it, the 40-year-old virgin, when what's his face is getting his chest waxed.
I love that movie.
Oh man, that had to hurt. Oh, that had to hurt something fierce.
I really hope they actually did that real. They said, "We're going to actually wax you. We're going to give you an extra few $1,000s for this."
Yeah.
This is going to be a real reaction from you, Steve. If they did that, I have so much more respect for the crew of that movie.
Yeah.
And a little bit more for Steve, because I do like him as an actor, even if Space Force really sucked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that had to hurt. I mean, it looked real enough. I'm pretty sure that they did pull that one off. But holy smokes, man! Like, I mean, even just getting tattoos in my underarm area, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty spicy. So I can't imagine getting all your nipple hair ripped off in one go. I mean, that has to suck.
Yeah, I thought I remember watching that and then rewatching that and rewatching that because I couldn't believe when I watched it the first time, like, did I just watch a guy get half of his hair ripped off in a 2-inch strip? And I had to, I seriously, I was there, and my girlfriend, she's like, "Are you a machoist? Do you really like watching people go through pain like this age? Are you enjoying this?" I'm like, "Not really. I can't believe they filmed it."
Yeah.
Like, that was the part that really killed me. Like, they actually were going to film this, put it in the movie. Okay. Was not expecting that. Then later on this week, we had a couple issues with the coronavirus. I heard on Thursday that now there's some agencies, and this was on a weekday during a news hour. Limbaugh's on, and they have this news blurb in the middle of the news. They're talking about how now they think that coronavirus is airborne, and there's a guy with a straight face. You can tell. He says, "If you're a mile away and I sneeze in the open air, you're probably going to get it."
Oh,
and I
wow.
thought, "Oh, are you guys in panic mode? This sounds like panic mode." Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what agency thought this would be a good idea to disclose this, but this is something I wasn't expecting to hear today.
Yeah.
And I've been telling people for a while, I think this probably is close to airborne. I mean, the influenza virus, if you sneeze while you've got a cold, you can get somebody else a cold. The flu is the same way. There'd be no reason why it couldn't travel 20 or 30 feet with a little bit of propulsion, a little bit of lung power.
Right. Yeah. Well, just from what I had heard about it, the main issues is what's really scaring people is the fact that, for one, how quickly it's capable of mutating. Like it mutates very, very quickly, and that's one of the arguments about a vaccine being like, oh well, like it'll just change before it's even finished clinical trials. The other one being that once it enters the body, it's there for good.
I think there's at least some truth to that part, because I had something that gave me the antibodies for it back in January. I got tested in April, and the girl I'm seeing, she's got it. She's got the antibodies. She's got the cough. She's got 2 or 3 degrees harder of a cough than I do. She'll be talking for 45 seconds straight, cough, like a good hearty cough. You can put your hand on her chest and you can feel parts of her paper in her lungs rattle, cough.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like, that's not supposed to be like that, babe. And she's like, well, this is what I got from Corona. I'm like, what the hell,
Yeah.
We both got this, and I want to say, because I did an Uber trip back in December. I took a guy out of the airport in San Antonio, and I drove him about 2 hours north into Georgetown, north of Austin. And I was in my enclosed car with this guy. There's no partition between the front and back seat. It's a Civic.
Yeah, right.
It's a basic little car. And, I had it. It lasted about 3 to 4 days, and I was miserable. Had body aches, coughing up stuff. Went to the drugstore, bought a bunch of vitamins and cough drops and decongestants, and just let me get rid of this thing. And after that, I was mostly fine. I still have a cough, not as bad as Brandy's, but I have a bad cough.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know the majority of the cases being asymptomatic as they are, but see, that's one of the things that they're worried about is the fact that while you do have it and then it can go away, it can reactivate. Essentially, they don't know how or why. Like, how is it? One of my friends, they're in the medical system up here, and they basically said it's kind of like how if you have chicken pox as a kid it is in your body and it's dormant, but it can come back as shingles, I believe is what they were saying.
Yes.
So kind of like how it can reactivate in a new form in your body, and that this that the beer bug follows the similar kind of a similar trait, that it's there and it's dormant, but it can, for whatever purpose, whatever reason, it can simply reactivate and then continues its mutation cycle and its and stuff like that, which is, needless to say, a little bit scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And for a while, I'm going to admit that I was wrong on something. I was thinking initially, like, let's everybody get it. That way we can just get done and be over with it. But with the secondary inflammation of it, to where the recurring item, we don't know exactly what that recurring sickness is going to be.
Right.
So telling people, well, let's all get it, that's really not a good thing. But at the same time, you know, how many people are now asymptomatic? How many people have had this thing and they just thought like, oh, it was nothing. It was just a flu. It was just a cold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even that you can see just through various reports how it has changed. I mean, at first it was, you know, mostly people over 60, you know, and over 60 and compromised lungs, as you know, like smokers that are over 60. That's why Italy got hit so hard. I mean, that's basically all of Italy.
Yeah, everybody over there. That's their pastime.
Yeah, exactly. So they got hit hard, and then all of a sudden, it's like, well, now it's starting to affect the younger folks. Now, you know, in infants, even you can create inflammation of the heart lining, like the pericardium and the lungs, and now it's terrifying for people, because all of a sudden, you know, children are it's not just affecting their lungs, it's affecting their hearts. So it's just, you know, it just goes to show how aggressive this thing mutates.
Did you watch the pandemic special?
I did not. I don't have cable, but I'm looking forward to it when I get a chance. I've heard it's thoroughly good. It
will probably, at some point in the near future, it's going to get pulled off. So probably the sooner you watch it, the better, because I feel this is about as controversial as the Super Best Friends episodes of South Park.
Which I love those episodes, man.
Yeah.
It's absolute gold.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really hard to find those nowadays. You have to find an old DVD set that's got that. Otherwise, you're not going to find it on the streaming network. They've made it to where you can't even get a hold of it on the new media, the newly printed DVDs. You're not going to find it.
Yeah. Well, that's like what Lord Doomcock is always saying. He's like, get hard copies, get material copies of everything that you love, because it's, you know, once it's all digital, it can be changed, you know. So I'm glad I've got all the old Looney Tunes. I love Looney Tunes, man. I grew up watching that stuff, and even to this day, when I can watch like some of the old Daffy Duck material, and it's just it keeps me in stitches, you know.
The Warner Brothers Looney Tunes, the Merry Melodies, all that, when they created it, I don't even think they knew at the time what they had, but they knew they were onto something good. The thing that I'm referring to is the fact that as a child, you can watch it and you can be entertained, and it's funny, and there's a little bit of slapstick violence, and your mom's like, don't be trying this in real life. And you knew better. We're going to try that stuff in real life.
Yeah.
And then as an adult, later on, you see it, and there's like a whole nother level of comedy that as a child you don't see. And the only thing that really, I think, compares to it in modern parlance to Looney Tunes is like the first two Toy Story movies, because there's so much good humor that is multi-layered.
Exactly. It was like the one where, as a parent, you would be able to go into the theater with your kids, and the kids are enjoying it for the reasons they enjoy it, and you can enjoy it for the reasons you enjoy it. And there's that multi-layered level of entertainment.
I just there's not enough chemicals, or there's not enough ways to really express that, and except to experience it firsthand. I mean, and I know it just sounds like word salad fell out of my mouth, but I'm saying the fact that like when you're a child, it's just nice to where you can go in somewhere and you have this great memory. I watched The Fox and the Hound with my mom, or I watched Toy Story with my father, you know, and then 20 years later, you're like, oh man, now I get it. Now I see why they really love this part.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to be shutting it down here in a few minutes. Are you going to be around here in about a half hour?
Well, I see. I'm waiting on. What are we waiting on? Makini 90's got his thing coming up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to. So that's so I'll definitely be there for that. It's really cool, man. He's doing a project for me, and oh man, it's super exciting just to see like how it's coming along. He sent me like 2 pictures so far, and I can't wait because when I do, man, for the first time ever, my little YouTube picture thing, whatever the hell it's called, the avatar is going to change, and that's going to be the picture he drew me. So real excited about that.
One you're using right now
on StreamYard or on YouTube?
On StreamYard.
Oh, this is just a random cyberpunk picture I found online.
Hail.
Oh, the sun god graces us with his presence. Hail, Apollo.
Hey, Apollo, how you doing?
Good.
Very well, very well. We're going to be wrapping it up here in about 5 to 10 minutes, but I wanted to bring you in here, and I'm glad you came in. You just reached 600 memes, correct?
Hell yeah. Yep. Yeah. When I was doing the memes, the website is like lagging like crazy, and I was like, holy crap, everything's all laggy and all that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start keep on posting memes, whatever. And
Don't stop.
yeah,
Don't slow down.
I keep on. And yeah, I made some newer memes like the rhino ones. I like that. That was pretty good ones. And then so this one right here on my avatar, AC Sisterhood, with a shirt off, Star Wars Theory. Very, yeah.
That tongue is going to replace the white whale in my nightmares.
Yep, you're in the triangle. You're near the triangle.
Oh man, oh that's nuts. Yeah, okay. So yeah, Apollo, you have a page, or I subscribe to that. Sweet. Question: Do you like Wildlands or Breakpoint more?
Wildlands, because yeah, I do like Breakpoint. It helps me a lot with my military videos because I can blouse my character's boots.
Oh god,
but
yeah,
Wildlands,
I knew they were going to do that finally.
Yeah, Wildlands is one of my favorite because I can just destroy a drug cartel like a boss.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I still play that one with some other guys I served with, and we have a great time. Just like, yeah, man, isn't this so realistic? Like, I can remember, I know how to fly a helicopter and pilot a boat and a tank, and I have a parachute that I never need to pack. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I've only had to pack a parachute once, and that was for a recreational civilian jump.
I got the on Wildlands the gold exosuit and all that stuff.
Oh, geez.
Playing ghost mode. Pretty dope.
Insane. That's insane, man. But yeah, Bruce, sorry, what were you saying about, oh man, I'm glad I've never had that level of responsibility, but you were back in a parachute civilian side, eh?
Yeah, and well, they had a jump site down in Vandalia, Illinois, and that was close to where I was living at the time. So went down there. I had a bottling plant that I did for Terminix, and some guys liked the way I killed their bugs and got rid of their spider problem, and made it kind of cheap for them to do it because I showed them a way where they could kind of handle it themselves and not pay us $400 a month. They could pay me $80 a month, and we would be there less time. We could go make more money, touch more people in the area, and they were able to keep their guys employed during the time where it got slow. But I went out and I did a jump with them, and I packed my chute, and we went up, and the entire time I'm panicking and just trying to keep my tongue in the mouth and not trying to put the people out, and you go out and you've got this guy strapped to your back, and he's like, okay, man, I can understand you're a little bit woolly. Do you want to have the other trainer? Do you want her to clip into you instead? And we're going up. And I'm like, I don't care who's clipped into me. I just know that this is a one-time deal. And the other guys, they can't hear me talking to the trainer, because you're tied in. It's a tandem jump. Your first jump is always tandem. And so this girl clips into my backside, And it didn't matter who was clipped into me. As soon as we cleared the plane, as soon as we cleared it, I'm just screaming like a little bitch. I just screamed like a bitch all the way down. And I felt sorry for her afterwards. And she's like, "You screamed pretty well." And I'm like, "Gee, thanks," pissed myself. And I'd never seen anything like that. I was in the Navy. I was on a ship. Perfectly fine ship. We never saw any action. Well, we did blow up a mine from World War II, but we didn't do anything crazy like jump out of a perfectly good plane.
Oh, so goodbye to your knees. But hey, man, I was gonna say at least when they pulled their chute, it wasn't a bunch of forks and knives flying up into the sky,
Oh my God.
Looney Tunes style.
I was gonna bring something up really hilarious. You don't even know what happened on a TikTok story. So like these Gen Z kids, whatever, I have no idea, but it was hilarious and crazy. So there's this Z symbol, I mean, what the Germans used from World War II. It's like there's these two lines in the middle and the Z. And so these the Gen Z kids, whatever, like, yeah, we're going to make this our symbol. They have no idea what it really means. So on this one video, TikTok video, there's this girl pops in showing the Z symbol on the tattoo on her wrist. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
I heard about this.
yeah. And then there's like pictures of this one chick, SJW chick, as a Z German symbol on side of her head, whatever. And I'm like, do they know what that even means? Like, there's all types of German insignias, but they have like in World War II, like there's like a shield, and then the one thunderbolt, and it means like I guess the First Reich, whatever. And then yeah, it's hilarious. Nowadays, people don't even know what symbols mean.
Well, I just jump into everything. Bruce, like what you were saying earlier, like, when we were watching stuff growing up and your parents would say, hey, okay, this is not real. Don't hit your friends in the head with a giant mallet, or, that's not real blood. There doesn't seem to be any of that anymore.
No.
Kids are growing up with smartphones.
All right, I gotta
iPads.
go. See you.
Oh, yeah, take it easy there, Apollo. And there's no filter. They're not growing up with a filter. So, when they see something online, it's just it's like information overload, and they have no means of disseminating between what is real and what is not real, and what is supposed to be comical, fictitious, and what isn't. And it's just this. I think that's probably one of the main issues that we're currently dealing with, is just there's no common sense, I guess you want to call it.
Pods. I can eat the Tide Pods.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, man, that was one of the first things, like, okay there, Marcus, you see that little skull and crossbones on the bottom of this bottle? That means don't put this into your body. Like, okay, Mom and Dad, don't you worry. Like, it's.
And the parents are just as much to blame as a kid doing the action, because the kid's got no legal responsibility. But here he is trying to down Tide Pods for a challenge. And how many kids got sick because of that? How many did he die? I think a couple died.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there were some fatalities.
I mean, granted, we didn't. My generation wasn't that intelligent when it was in its 20s either, because there was a lot of us that got tattoos. I'm still tattooless. But a lot of them got tattoos of these Japanese letters and Japanese items on their body. And nobody in my neighborhood, nobody in Peoria that I hung out with, none of the legal and medical professionals that were in the games and the board games, none of them spoke or wrote Japanese. But some of them and some of their girlfriends got the Japanese things. They said, oh, it means hope, or it means peace.
Oh, yeah, right.
And you're like, it probably means I take it up the butt, It probably means that, like, I love eating raw fish.
Yeah, no, that's I remember encountering some people that are like, yeah, man, they got some Chinese lettering on their chest, and they're like, yeah, this means courage or bravery or something along those lines. And then your friend who actually can read and he understands Chinese, he's like, no man, that means like bread or wheat. It's like a wheat product. It's like, man, did you not do your research before you went into that tattoo parlor? Really?
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people, no matter what it might be, they really just don't do enough research. They might watch one video or they might see one commercial on it. It's worse when you just see the commercial.
Yeah.
But they only do that minimal amount, and then they go out and they procure it and they get it done. It's like, oh, why'd you go do that? Why?
Yeah, it's well, I don't want to say you don't have any sympathy for them, but at the same time, it's like, if I'm having something, I'm getting something tattooed onto me permanently, I'm going to do a little bit more than 20 minutes on Google researching what it means.
I would hope so. I really would hope so. And our society's not evolved from the early 2000s. We haven't evolved. We've devolved. And I thought we were the bottom of the barrel, but no. We slumped down a little further.
Yeah. Well, is it like that episode of South Park where was it James Cameron has to find the bar and he's just like descending down into the Marianas Trench, and he's like, all of a sudden everyone's like, wow, what the hell are we doing with our lives? It's like, he found and raised the bar a few meters. We're good for another 10 years. Yeah, that seems. I mean, South Park has always been like. I mean, from where it started to where it is now. I mean, it's always been on point with various social issues. Oh man, but yeah, so let's see what we got here. Looks like Makini is going to be getting going in about 15 minutes.
Okay, and wanting to see you in the chat there. I'm probably going to need to use the restroom before I do that, but.
Yeah, no worries.
I just wanted to do a quick draw stream or paint stream and get some things out of the way because I like Makini. He's a very good man.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've never met him, obviously.
I
will say this. He knows what I look like because I did send him a picture of me in Afghanistan as part of the work project I have for him. So just like, don't tell anyone I told you that.
I won't. Nobody will ever watch the stream.
Yeah, except for the millions of, yeah, exactly. It's like, hello, world.
He's a really good guy. I've got no complaints about him, about his work, about his ethic, and his streams are a little more focused off of politics, more on the creative and artistic side of things. And so I wanted to get this out of my system so I wouldn't ruin his stream by talking about politics. Because I don't do that. I want to respect the guy, but he's nice enough to bring me on stream, and I'm able to paint more and talk with him and bounce ideas off him and Mads. But I wanted to do this, and I'm like, huh. And so usually I'm going to do this more often on Sundays where I talk about things and I just get it out of my system before I go into his locker room. And okay, we're going to have this to focus, and here we go. Okay.
Yeah, today's our today on the drawing strip, politics. What does it mean for you? It's like, no, that's not the point.
No. No.
Did you not get the memo? Yeah. Well, no, man, Bruce, it was good being able to talk to you in person here. It's, I think this is only the second time I've ever actually been on YouTube in a StreamYard function. So,
well, I try to do this about every Sunday. And you see me on every Saturday. I have my games that I run. I took the one down from last night. There was some tech issues that were really bugging me when I was flipping through the hours. It kept on popping up, and I'm like, I can't have that.
Yeah, no, you guys were going for over 6 hours, man. I was kind of popping back and forth between things, but I did learn a bit about GMing and whatnot, because I do want to try and get Cyberpunk going with some friends, because I think it would be a lot of fun. They like playing board games, and I don't have anything against board games. I don't enjoy them as much. You know what I mean? Like for me, Connect 4 is fun. Chess, obviously the ancient games, but I think that from Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of tabletop RPG, I think is a little bit more involved and more creative.
You get to do more, and with it, you're having a socialization. So you basically are having quote unquote the board game time where everybody bullshits with each other between turns. but you have that narrative that you go back to, or you're focusing on it for periods on time. And the cyberpunk jump box is really aimed at guys like yourself that are familiar with the concept of it, never been into it. And it's written from the perspective of somebody that they know enough to get other people off the ground, but not so much to hint at things like there's this over here, and it makes people ask questions. Well, wait, what was that definition? Well, we explain that in book 3. And they don't do that. They don't do that to you. They write it at the level that you need to be as a beginning GM. They show you the basics. They show you the rules. They give you the amount of dice you need, and they give you some beginning ideas, a complete first adventure, I believe, and they let you go. And then you have the cyberpunk previous editions to pull from if you want. And most GMs and most companies will tell you, we really don't care if you use the old adventures or the old editions. Really, the thing is that one, we like it, you buy our products, but it's most important if you get to play with your friends. Because
Right.
that's the reason why you want to do this, is because you want to spend quality time with people at a table.
Right. Yeah. Well, is it I on YouTube I managed to track down some of Mike Pondsmith's games that he is very similar to what you're doing. Like, he has a bunch of people and he's the GM, and just following along, like how, I don't want to say like on the fly, it's like, screw it, we'll do it live. But, there's a huge component of that involved, like as the story, like just, like figuring out when as a GM, you take control of the narrative of the story and say, okay, it is going in this direction. And then giving the players the option to deal with it in their own way. But it's not going to be like you have a story laid out and all of a sudden one guy's like, well, I'm going to walk out of the bar and go and get into this car and drive out into the desert or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I guess you're not in this game.
You smell it? Smoke alarm might go off in a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
Oil, I forgot the pan was high.
Oh, well,
So, yeah.
fair enough.
No. No.
You use pure olive oil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better than using corn oil. That would have caused a fire. You're good.
All good in the hood.
Yeah, we're going to be fine. I mean, I have a smoke alarm go off, but that's just, it's living. If you're not making mistakes in the kitchen, you're never going to get to be a good cook. That's all there is to it.
Or the opportunity to buy new cookware. That's when I realized I was an adult, Bruce, when I got excited about non-stick frying pans. I was like, this is where it's at. I was like, I didn't understand why my parents were so, all so excited about it all the time. Well, I got this new, it's like a stone-coated frying pan from Switzerland, and I'm like, this is incredible. Nothing sticks to this. It's amazing.
I've been looking for a new one because I have a ceramic frying pan right now, and I'm probably going to be spending probably a little bit of coin to get an old style cast iron skillet.
Oh yeah, those are no complaints. I mean, once you get it seasoned up properly, like that's thoroughly good. But I mean, for more delicate stuff, I'd recommend getting just a pan that has that stone coating, so no metal contact whatsoever. But it's incredible. Like it's
really good, huh?
Yeah.
I'll check that out because I'm looking at this. I'm probably going to have to replace some stuff. I've been in San Antonio for 5 years, and I'm already eclipsing to where the initial cookware I had is starting to fall apart now.
Right.
Because you buy the $70 kit at the store, they have like 7 or 8 pans with it, and you get another box with some silverware for another $40, and it's like, okay, this really wasn't made well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Once you get those the cast iron pans, you can stovetop sear, like do a real hot sear on your steak, and then once you get your oven going, you can pop it in there for another 5 minutes, and it gives it that seals the flavor, and it's amazing. I mean, it's a bit more effort because you got to get the stove preheated, but once you cook a steak like that, it's not on the barbecue. You probably never go back.
I'm intrigued by this because I love a good barbecue time.
Me too. Yeah. But if you can't do it, because up here, I'm up in Edmonton right now, and I can tell it's probably going to be snowing in the next 3 to 4 weeks, maybe.
You guys have early and long winters.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's joke. It's like we don't pay provincial taxes up here, but it's winter 7 months out of the year. It's like, okay, yeah, and it gets cold, man. Like, I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, that's why I live down here.
Yeah, you're lucky, man. I've wanted one of my plans is to actually, once the travel bans are lifted and things hopefully normalize, is to head down to Texas and do some helicopter hog hunting. It sounds like a real blast. Wink.
Yeah, that is something that they offer quite a bit. In fact, the ranchers, if they find out that you're a good shot and you're sticking around for a little bit, you'll be found, and they'll look you. Hey, we understand you're good. Can you come on my ranch for a couple of nights? And they ask you to hang out. Hey, go ahead, bring your families, bring your friends. You got any mates from your time in the service? Go ahead, camp out. We'll bring you some food. We'll bring you some beer, and they just give you a map of the ranch. Here's where the typical runs are at. Whatever you need, and they just expect you to do your business, do your butcher's work, and just go to town because it's a problem. They are a nuisance.
This is probably the best news that I've had all of this year. that makes me feel good inside. But yeah, no, I'd read reports on the feral hog issues, and I've seen some photos of them, and holy smokes! I mean, that's not Wilbur from Charlotte's Web. I mean, these things are freaking massive.
No, they are a problem. They are a very serious problem here, and I've seen on a couple of these sites down by Kingsville and west of Kingsville. I've seen about maybe 200 to 300 pigs crossing the road at once.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so you kind of have to stop your heavy equipment because you'll probably lose a couple tires. And when you're rolling at 40 to 60 miles per hour, you're probably going to roll your vehicle. Don't want to do that. So we've been inundated with these things. They're a problem. They are a big problem.
Yeah, well, I've heard that they essentially eat everything. Like they just mow through. Like they'll eat
bark, the wood.
Yeah, the thing. There's birds that nest in the ground, or you've got subterranean. They essentially eat anything and everything that can outrun them.
Yeah. You come down here, let me know. I'll go out. Wherever you're at, I'll meet you at the restaurant. Shake hands with you. Appreciate you've been on stream. And be good to meet you as well. And then, I think 3 hours away from Kingsville. If you're going to be up north, up by Dallas, it's about another 4 to 5 hours from me. I'm based in San Antonio area, which is about 3 hours from Houston as well.
Sweet. Because that would be that's one of the dreams, man, to visit Texas. Because right now, my essentially the only experience that I got down training in the U.S. was in Boise, Idaho. We're just using the training area there at I think it was Mountain Home Air Force Base. I think it was a National Guard Air Force Base, Air Guard. I can't remember. We were all incredibly hungover, but yeah, it was a good time.
We will see you. I'll be seeing you here in McKinney 90s chat in a few minutes. He just sent me the link to his. So
yeah, absolutely.
Head out of here, but I apologize. I will talk to you in a bit.
Yeah, no worries, Bruce. I know we gotta. Sorry, I didn't mean to start trailing off there with another story, but yeah, I'll see you guys on the other one or the other stream there.
I will be more than happy, and if there's anything you need, give me a buzz. I can at least give you maps. I can give you directions. I can give you recommendations when you do get down here to Texas, as with anybody that comes down and visits in this area.
Solid. Alrighty. Well, thank you kindly. All right, I'll see you in a bit then.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, take it easy.
All right, this was a really good chat stream, although it was more like a couple friends hanging out and doing stuff. Apollo's got the Hail Mortars. I was helping some good people out at my house get a good stream. Hail and Mr. Dastardly. I like Wildlands and Breakpoint, but hopefully get a good new Future Soldier game. And with that, I'm getting ready to head over myself to my Keeney 90s stream, hopefully. And with the technology gods in place and happy with us, we will have ourselves a good stream over there. Thank you so much on this Sunday for visiting us. And We will talk to you later. Have a great day.